Welcome back to Don't Listen to the Radio, the podcast. It's officially...
a second in and I spilled all of it.
Okay. We're off to a great start. It's officially the second episode of Don't Listen to the Radio, the podcast. And this time we are not alone.
Guest.
Yes. So say hello to our friend, colleague, guest, Ena Zečević. So would you like to say officially hello to our viewers?
Hello, and thank you for having me here today.
Thank you for being so kind enough to actually say yes to being our guest. So first of all, we have to mention today's topic is female vocals, specifically the ones that we find the most powerful, amazing, most important female vocals in the music industry. If we don't cover some of your favorites, leave them in the comments or let us know who they are, because we can't cover each and every single female vocalist out there.
Get angry at us, we're not gonna do it again. This is the only time we're doing this. Thank you.
Get angry in the comments now.
you.
Yes. Okay, so should we just skip and go into
let's not do the intro. Let's segue into the real deal. You're going first?
Sure.
Who's your favorite or one of your favorite female vocalists / singers / whatever it is?
Okay, so it was hard to decide, first of all, because there's so many amazing singers out there. But the one I decided to present first to you is definitely Bonnie Tyler, which I think everyone knows who that is. That name is pretty popular and you can't not know it. So,
Yes.
okay. So basically Bonnie Tyler was pretty popular back in the 80s. One of her most popular songs is Total Eclipse of the Heart, which, tell me you've heard of it. Yes? Yes.
Yeah, I know the song.
It's like one of my favorite karaoke songs, definitely, like the first pick. And that one just flew off the charts, honestly, and that's what kind of made her popular. But apart from that, there's also her famous song, what's it called? About a man.
Song about a man.
I got a brain fart. Oh, yeah.
Song about a man by
There are only
Well,
few
no, most of her career is based on like love songs.
I mean, there's like 4 love songs in the world. How hard can it be?
Exactly. But apart from Total Eclipse of the Heart, Holding Out for a Hero. That's the one that I wanted to mention.
I didn't know that was her song.
Yes.
I did not know there was a song.
Also, something that like amazes me is the fact I never know which one of these older artists are like still alive and which of them have passed, and that I haven't even heard the news about because there's too many of them. But she's actually still alive. She's, I think, 68 years old at this time. Hopefully we're not gonna ureknut, as we say in Bosnian, and something happens.
We're not
Jinx it.
It's
Jinx.
Hey, when you say it,
yeah.
when you say it in our language, it has a different power to it than in English.
Well, we said it in English, so...
Also, she is from Wales, which not a lot of people know. They usually think she's just English or from the US or Canada or something like that. And for some reason, there's a lot of people that compare her to Celine Dion. Like, how?
I don't see the resemblance, honestly.
Me neither. Like, appearance-wise, they're completely opposite. Well, maybe like the blonde hair and that's it. But when you look at their singing style and their music preferences, it's like 2 almost completely different genres. The reason why I chose her, though, is not only because she is like a childhood favorite of mine. This is a song that I heard as a child, of course. It was an 80s hit. But it's just her voice is so unique, and it's something we actually mentioned in our first episode, that I really like women that have like the raspy, strong voice, which is mostly in rock music, but her music is considered like pop rock, something like that. Some people say it's straight up ballads, but I guess it depends what song you listen to or what album, what era in her career, just like with any artist. So what are like your thoughts on Bonnie Tyler? I know you listened to her as well.
Yeah, I've listened to her, but not as intensely.
Mm-hmm.
I've known her songs for a while. As you say, some songs you hear in your childhood and they just stick with you. They just kind of leave an imprint on you. So that was definitely the case for me as well. But I would agree that I really like the raspy, the rock-ish type of female vocals, and I wanted to mention Fiona Apple as well. She's sort of like on the same wavelength, but in a different genre. She's not in rock, she's in pop and so-called baroque pop. It's really interesting how she blends those genres and how she incorporates really interesting lyrics, and her lyricism is the most valued. I mean, more valued than her singing, but I really like her style, and it inspired me a great deal. The way she just, you can hear the emotion just bursting out of her, and actually she won a Grammy and was nominated for a few more.
Okay, so Bonnie Tyler is good.
Apparently, yeah.
I didn't know that.
So since you already started talking about one of your artists, before we begin with that, I just wanted to ask if you could explain to us and to the audience, how did you discover her and that music, and what made you do music actually? Because you've had a couple gigs recently with live singing.
Well, a lot of female vocalists that I've encountered, I've been on the lookout for them myself. I didn't hear a lot of them in the mainstream platforms, so I just wanted to know what kind of female voices they are out there. So I really started getting into that a few years ago, and I was really actually kind of disappointed that there's not so many female vocalists who are valued for their singing abilities or their experimental styles and such. So and it became a sort of a genre of itself, like female vocals and stuff like that. So it actually didn't occur to me that I wanted to be a vocalist or a singer until I stopped this long line of choir practices that I've been sort of in touch with for almost since my childhood. I've been in middle school choir and my high school choir, and it really shaped my just sing. I don't know how to how to explain it. Really shaped my voice in a good way, that I was able to get a bit wider range out of my normal one. That is, and I didn't see myself as someone who was for that solo career-ish until I stopped going to choir and started hearing more of my own voice instead of the whole group as a entire different sound, the communal sound of a choir. So
so suddenly everyone was like, wow, you can sing.
Yeah, when you're out of that like group, people notice you more, because otherwise it just blends in, and I actually like that, the feeling of a community and creating a kind of magic together.
Don't put me out there.
Yeah.
I'm fine back here, and I don't like that.
Yeah, I was also an introvert, still am actually, but I'm trying to get out of that shell to express myself more, and
we're forcing you to do this.
yeah, so thank you for that as well.
You're welcome anytime.
So how did you specifically find Fiona Apple? Because she is quite as you already said, it's kind of one of those voices that belongs to a genre on its own. You can't really fit it into a mold, especially for female singers. How did you come across her music?
Well, I mean, as a lot of music that I come across recently, it's just YouTube recommendations. So a few years back I saw some of her singles from her debut album Tidal, which she wrote at the age of 17, and received great critical acclaim for it. And I fell in love with the way someone so young can express themselves and just sing in that raspy kind of grungy style, because that was in the 90s, and she represented sort of a rebellion in that sphere, where the female vocalist would usually just be thankful for the opportunity. She actually took it and had an infamous, or what I say, notorious speech at the MTV, I think VMAs or some award show. She said, like, this all is just crap.
You're all fake and should be shot in the street.
Not like that, but she said that a great deal of the industry is a facade, and people obviously didn't like that because they were benefiting from that, or so
I don't think I've actually heard a female artist do something like that during award shows. I mean, we saw like previous, I don't know, like bands or male artists kind of like rebelling during those live shows, but I never heard of a story back in the day, let's say it, when someone as a single person stood out in front of the crowd and actually called out the whole industry on what they're doing. So that's really interesting and something new I really didn't know about her. Is there anyone similar to her that you will maybe like want to mention or recommend to us?
Yeah, I would definitely recommend, if you're into that sort of grunge ordeal, or probably people have heard from Sonic Youth, but I would like to take notice of Kim Gordon of Sonic Youth. She's really amazing, and I really like that she's even goes a step further and goes into the lower range, and really those deep vocals, so kind of an alt. We're talking about that lower voice, and I really like the way she conveys emotion and that sort of female rebellion. And also there's an entire movement that Fiona Apple was inspired by, and just a bit like benefited also from got inspired by them, and that's Riot Girl. They're really amazing, and they even had their own philosophy, their fanzines, they had a whole different outlook on life, and just wanted to fight for their rights, because within the punk community there was a lot of I would say like sexism and just like not lack of acceptance for female bands. They would get booed off the stage, they would just like, people wouldn't come to their gigs and stuff like that. So they just wanted to create a space for them that was that they felt comfortable in, and that let in everyone practically. So yeah.
So apart from the fact that we love all of these female vocalists, or both of these that we have mentioned, we have to remember that that's not the only thing they're known for, basically. In my case, and I'm pretty sure it was with you and finding out about Fiona Apple as well, these women are not only important because of their vocals, their talent, or just their good looks. It's the fact that they do a lot of things outside of the music career. For example, they do a lot of charity events, and they support a lot of charities, which sadly that information usually remains in the shadow when it comes to their careers and personalities. And before we move on, I would like to talk a bit more about Bonnie Tyler and this aspect of her career. She did a lot of charities for children in need, poor children that need better healthcare systems or a better educational system. And I think one of her biggest campaigns was when she did a live concert for like anti-drug abuse, and I think it was actually specifically like anti-heroin abuse. I think, I don't know why she chose, is it specifically for that drug? I'm not 100% sure if she has like a background or someone with that background. But nonetheless, it's something that we should not forget, no matter what type of celebrity or influencer these days is that there is much more to what the eye can see. So how about Fiona? Did you have that kind of experience with her?
I actually just started noticing that she's way less in the limelight lately, even though she was very popular back in the 90s and made records even a few years back. She tends to just stay a bit in the shadows and just do some of that charity work, as you mentioned, and also has very, I would say, really special and intimate bonds with her fan base, the core fan base, and she's really supports those current movements that are just those activist movements and such. And I do find it actually very sad that those things tend to fall in the shadows, just not get recognized. And I've just now remembered the same fact about not a singer but a woman who did the same, Audrey Hepburn, because we all know her in that glamorous
Hollywood style.
Yes, exactly. But she did so much for UNICEF and stuff like that, and was saved by UNICEF. Actually, it's just, I think we should pay attention a bit more, not what people are, how women look, but what they do. And I'm glad you mentioned that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've noticed it even recently with like contemporary artists or newer artists that are just debuting. They simply get ignored they either will get trampled down for their background or something they're doing. Like, people are so obsessed with finding things that they can take down a person's whole career with. And at the same time, they're not paying enough attention to the positive things in their backgrounds or even in their current situation. Like, there's so many modern artists that are part of also UNICEF campaigns and everything they stand for, and many other very important humanitarian causes. But the first thing you will see in the headlines, and this is not even just for female artists, this is artists in general, the thing in headlines you will see is like, oh, they had, I don't know, a wardrobe malfunction, or they are dating this and now this, and you never see like, okay, like, we get it, that's like their personal life, and that's, you're just digging out the bad things. When are you gonna show us the good things that they do? Because they're human just like we are. And it seems like it's also in a way as if they're blaming them for being human like us. So like, how dare you have like several relationships in your life? Or
it's sort of a paradox how they're put on a pedestal, but at the same time just picked apart at those little things that don't really matter. And how would we react if someone would analyze our lives like that? It just really remains a problem in the industry, that people are more interested in the drama and the rumors, the gossip, so they don't pay attention to the whole as a person, them as people.
And that is why you should not listen to the radio. Thank you.
Is there something else you would like to add? You've been pretty silent since we started.
I'm not that into the whole industry thing of the sides of the music. The thing I know about industry, I don't know many positive things. So I stick to the underground, to the things I like, and I don't care about private lives of celebrities or whatever they do in their free time. I'm here for the music, so
okay. Well,
I don't really have a lot to say on that.
You're not really the type to get invested in the artist itself, but more just the art that they produce.
Well, yes, but actually no.
Okay, explain.
Well, depends on the artist. Like, I'm a huge David Bowie fan. He did a lot of great things, and he did some questionable things. I mean, that he's still a great artist, so you can't take taste. So I tend to separate the artist from art. You know, there's great musicians who are shitty people. So, do we know anyone? Do you have any examples?
Great art, but bad person.
Yeah. I mean, that's the norm. Like, in the industry, you have to. You can be a shitty artist, but a great person.
Yeah. the thing with that today is because there's a lot of mainstream music that I personally don't consider good music. Like
Yes.
the most like rap industry today, like the modern rap industry or the mumble rap as people call it. I don't find that in any way pleasing to the ear for me personally. But I know they have like a large following. It's like a very popular and well demanded genre today. But then you look at the artists who make that music, and most of them have like a criminal record and things like that.
I wouldn't actually agree with you, because there's some actually great guys who make that music, but
Like, for
the
example?
the music itself is very, very. The values behind the music are problematic. I mean, but the same thing with metal, like in the 80s. All they ever did, like, listen to trash metal and drink and do drugs and like punk music.
Yeah, it's part of the ordeal, actually.
Yeah.
being
I
in
mean, it doesn't. Well, this is gonna sound problematic. Maybe it doesn't sound to us as good as some of that music, but to some kids in like 20-30 years, it will be maybe something like that. Although I still disagree, because it's more media controlled and influenced. Who knows? But there is a lot of shitty people in that
I think
genre.
there's a lot to unpack here, because I think from the top of my head I can think of a great band, a great singer, but a questionable personal record. Morrissey from the Smiths.
Oh god.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's the reaction.
He's a meme at this point.
Sadly, kind of, because they used to
You see,
write
we-
great music, they used to make great music and just like revolutionary stuff. But then at some point it just became.
We're like,
I mean,
God.
we said this, and if it ever gets to him, he hates Bosnia forever. I mean, just Morrissey.
join the club, Morrissey. Like,
You're not the first one.
yeah, you're not the first. Okay, so we strayed a bit away from our main topic, but again, I still think this is a topic that definitely should be discussed, and if not, even like a whole episode should just be about these, like,
Good musicians, shitty people. The podcast.
kind of, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
like
we could do that.
we could do that, or like the opposite way around.
Good people, shitty
Yeah.
musicians.
There is
I
a
mean,
lot of people like that in the industry
sure.
as well. But now I actually am quite curious for you to share your first favorite female vocal that you would like to present.
My first female favorite vocal is not a pop artist, and she's not a classic. I mean, she's been making music for 9 years, I think. Since 2010. She's Swedish. She does very dark stuff, and her name is Anna von Hausswolff. I have no idea if I butchered that pronunciation accurate enough. Anyways, I found her, I think it was last year or the year before that, when she put an album called Dead Magic. I sent you that, and I sent you that. I didn't send him, but I will send him that album.
Everyone will listen.
Everyone will listen to that album. It's
Tell
it's
us what
so
you
fucking
think
good.
of it in the comments.
Yes.
Dead Magic. It's great. It's amazing. She plays the fucking organ herself. She plays with the. I think I read somewhere that she did something with the opera
I
thingy.
think I read that as well.
Yeah, and
I mean, it usually goes hand in hand. If you know the organs, you most likely
She-
were part of a choir. That
she
does
does sound a bit classical to me. She could probably sing that. I mean, her vocals are just nice,
Classical goth.
great, classical, ambient, witchy. Did I say great? Great. I don't know. She's a very, I'd say, it's not heavy music.
No.
It's not extreme in the sense that you expect it to be, like guitarists.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
no, it's extremely atmospheric, I'd say. It's very slow, very painful. Like the songs are up to, I think, 9-10 minutes, which is I love that. It's very downbeat, slow, and it's haunting. Like it's sometimes it's scary, which is why I love it so much. I sent you, and I sent you. I send it to everyone. I want to hear your comments.
I wanted to also just point out that when we plan these episodes of shows, we make sure that we all share the music between us and that we all listen to it so that we know what we're expecting, and that also we can kind of give our comment or input on it. So that's why we know and why we are agreeing with him with most of the things.
Because I barely knew who Bonnie Tyler was, so we had to do it like
we
that.
We had to do it. So, okay. You said... I have so much to say about her, honestly.
This was my topic.
No, I just want to
go on.
Connect with what you already said, that I was actually quite surprised because this is not the type of music that I would personally look up or listen to in my free time by myself.
Okay.
So definitely I would never find out about her if it wasn't for you. And I'm very glad that you did send that to me, because I even mentioned it to you last night while I was commenting, while I was listening to her album. I could imagine her music being in a scene in a Tarantino movie, in beginning scene, intro scenes or the ending scenes when it's all intense and it's
there's
build
a
up
single droned notes in the background.
Yeah.
And she's
screaming.
No, she's not screaming. She's singing like an angel, and there's people killing each other everywhere. The screen is red,
It's quite epic, for epic battle type scenes. Well, Tarantino doesn't really do epic battles.
Not epic, just very, very violent, but also very artistic.
Well, yeah, that's Tarantino. Blood everywhere, but amazing angles and cinematography to cover it all up.
Well, then you're gonna love my next artist, I think, even more. When we get to that.
Actually, I would imagine her being in old type of horror, like Suspiria or something.
Ooh. Oh yeah. Oh, it definitely has that gloomy, dark vibe.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's very powerful.
Okay,
exactly.
Honorable mention before we go on, because you mentioned horror movies. I talked to you some time ago about Marissa Nadler. Mm-hmm. I think I sent you the album. It came out this year. Drone Flower, it's called. So her and Steven Brodsky, I think, they wanted to make a horror movie soundtrack, basically. And they didn't have a movie to make a soundtrack to, but they did make an album. And it's very similar to what Anna does. I think you would like it. It's a bit more... It's not so surreal. It's more, let's say, recognizable as a sound, I don't know, like Chelsea Wolfe. You like Chelsea Wolfe?
No, you don't listen to Chelsea.
It's like Chelsea Wolfe. But Chelsea Wolfe is great. I mean, it's in that genre.
Yeah,
Can
like
call it
sphere of sound music.
Horror soundtrack.
Okay.
As a genre.
Okay.
This is revolutionary.
Okay.
And then Anna can be extreme horror soundtrack as a genre. The genre.
The genre.
The podcast.
Okay. So wait, when did you first listen to Anna on Hausswolff?
Well, I actually, when you sent me, but I was surprised I didn't find out about her earlier, because her work is just so amazing, and I really enjoyed that type of ambient, sort of experimental, low-key type of music, but at the same time, the vocals really fascinated me, the way she just would transition from one key to another, one song to another. It just felt like a dream, and I love music that creates a landscape for itself, and that's definitely what Anna did with that album, so it's great.
Even before that, I'd say she was pretty good, pretty on the way, but the last album is just, to me...
Our producer is yawning.
Something great.
He's bored with us.
He doesn't listen to good music, we're sorry.
I think it's I found it very interesting when I listened to her because I can't remember the last time I heard a vocal in general that had such a stable voice while singing, and she could like transition the notes so smoothly.
Yeah.
It's very interesting to me because I assume she has a lot of vocal training background or something
not
like,
sure,
or just
actually.
experience in singing beforehand. Especially if she was in like a choir or something like that.
I don't know.
In her like early life,
I'm not
I
sure.
mean, because
Quite possible.
usually this is just from what I've read before, is people who play the organs, they usually were part of a church choir, and that's how they actually learn the organs. So I'm assuming that's with her as well, and that's how she actually learned to control her voice so professionally, which I think today artists usually go for like shorter and safer tones, or
And she goes for the insanity in the vocals.
yeah, it's definitely quite experimental, definitely quite different.
It's experimental, it's weird, for lack of a better term, but also it's very, very big, in a sense, because of the vocals, because of the atmosphere, because of the it's extreme horror soundtrack, the genre,
The podcast.
the genre.
Okay. So now that we have covered a full circle, the first full circle, it's back to me to present another artist that I really wanted to share. And since I have discussed K-pop in the last episode as one of the main genres that I listened to today, I wanted to put a K-pop female singer that I really, really adore and love, mostly because she kind of steps out of the how should I say, like the mold of the female
norm.
vocal. Kind of, yeah. Usually in K-pop, the female voice should be like very cute, high-pitched, possibly. It sounds almost unnatural, and in most cases, that's not the real natural singing voice of the female idol. It's just to like cater to public, basically. But Lee Hybe is one of the female singers that really, really is unique when it comes to that sense. She's actually quite young. She was born in 1996. She's only 2 years older than us and 3 years older than you, right? Yeah. So, which honestly, I thought she was a bit older when I first started listening to her, because she has like a really mature voice, especially for her age. She basically got quite famous back in 2013, when she was part of a variety show in Korea, which was like a talent show, or like, you know how they have American Idol, so it's just like the Korean version. I'm not sure what the exact name is, but it is a singing competition. And she did not win, but she received quite a popular
Demand.
I guess I wouldn't really call it a demand, but a lot of public really liked her, and they wanted to see her build a career after that, and she actually signed a contract with YG Entertainment. YG Entertainment gave out many amazing artists like 21, Big Bang, Blackpink, iKON, Psy, and many others. And I might be wrong here because I haven't really followed that much into the company's history of artists, but I think she was one of the most successful female solo artists at the time, especially from their company. Later on, she did many collaborations with other popular artists in the K-pop community. I don't even know what was gonna come out of that. And basically, well, today she did release a new EP this year. It's quite popular, although I think her previous one and her second EP that she ever released would actually boost her career to be what it is today. And one of my favorite songs, which I actually sent you a live version
Yeah,
of that
I've heard
song.
that.
It's called Breathe or Breath, and I think it's one of her most emotional songs that she made, especially because whoever follows K-pop and is part of that community, they know that she wrote that song together with Jonghyun of SHINee, who sadly passed away. I believe it's been 2 years now, or 3, due to mental illnesses, depression, and just that's like a whole different problematic topic in the K-pop industry. And she actually performed that song live after his passing at one of the biggest award shows in Korea, and it was just this whole emotional, sentimental moment. Everyone was crying, I was crying, the whole audience was crying. She was actually crying on stage while singing it. So that is kind of what she's known for her very mature voice that can convey very strong emotions, actually. Most of her songs are a bit stereotypical K-pop songs because they do kind of follow like the love theme and everything like that, but it's more of a mature love. It's not that like cutesy, oh, I have a crush on you, I like you, but it's like, wow, I have these deep feelings for you, I don't know how to convey them, or I'm utterly heartbroken and I don't know how to deal with it. Or just that song Breathe is a very comforting song, which basically just says, you are allowed to take a break from life, from the everyday struggles, and just be human, basically. Of course, again, I recommend it a lot, not just that song, but her whole discography. And some artists that she had collaborations or did collaborations with was many artists from her company, but also I think she did a couple collaborations that are not so popular with some Western artists as well. I sadly don't listen to those artists, so I can't remember their name, but I know that they are actually quite played on Spotify. I know I've checked like the number of
Crunch the numbers.
Yeah, and I was really surprised because those I don't know how they actually count it. Is it like by play or by?
Probably just one person playing the song on repeat. I don't know.
Honestly, it could be like that, but it's interesting because those songs that were collaborations with Western artists that I've never heard of before have more of those plays than her original songs. Which I thought it was very
Spotify,
sad. Yeah.
Western artists.
Yeah.
The industry, man. The industry.
Yeah. It is a bit sad, honestly, but that is the artist that I wanted to present. I know you know of her and you listen to her, and I've sent you.
I know about her. I listened to her once when you sent me. I had no idea who she was.
So I wanted to ask of your opinions on her and what do you think?
Should I go first?
Yes, you should.
Well, I've been familiar with K-pop and I've listened to it intensely a few years back, I guess. And Lee Hi has always been this just powerful vocal, and I really love that song that you mentioned, her main most popular one, Breathe, and yeah, the only thing I've noticed kind of is how rare she puts out music, and that's the thing that really actually bothered me, that they don't give her many opportunities to put her stuff out there. And that's, I guess, a big part of YG. They just don't make it so often that those new releases, they have those preferred artists or those big ones that they put out, and the other ones kind of get left behind. So that's a bit sad, considering she has all this potential and everything. Yeah.
Art takes time.
It does, but
it's not even, I think she has a lot of material prepared, but the company is just not willing to commercialize her work that much, as they're focused on the boy bands or the girl groups, they're all over the place. And in general, it's quite hard for a solo artist in K-pop to have a big name and to be popular.
Why not put her in a group? That could work.
With her voice, she doesn't really fit the mold of the K-pop group.
Yes, but why not make an entire group
just for her?
No, of those voices, yeah, similar.
I really don't. Well,
Celine Dion, the K-pop experience, the genre.
The podcast.
Like, imagine if there was 5 of her.
Then she wouldn't be that special.
Well, find 4 other people who are special, put them all together, you know. It's a group, it could sell, maybe.
It's a bit more complicated.
How does
Yeah.
K-pop work? I don't know.
We need an entire episode for that.
Yes.
God.
How does K-pop work? I'm not gonna torture
Honestly,
you, okay?
Please.
Honestly, like there's too many documentaries about actually the K-pop industry.
It's
because
actually
so
kinda
worrying
cruel.
and complex.
And you
Yeah.
two can do that. So I'll have my own.
No, well you should learn. You made me watch a documentary about Norwegian death metal.
Black metal,
metal,
and I'm gonna do a
sorry.
podcast on that by myself, maybe with the producer, and you two can do K-pop, so we can all.
It can be like our birthday episodes. Let's
Oh,
call it like
God.
that.
Right.
So that's yeah. Oh, what did you think when you listened to her when I sent you the?
It was okay. It's a bit too poppy
Oh, yeah.
for me. I don't do pop music, you know, at all. It's good. She's good. It's
good.
great. But the music itself is
Mhm.
nothing special.
Mm.
So maybe that's a good thing if you want to be mainstream. If you're in K-pop
Mhm.
industry, I'd say it's a good thing. And if you want to do something on your own, and if you want to be recognized for doing something unique, then I don't think you should be doing
Yeah.
that. But to each their own.
Yeah. Well, I've seen most of the people describe her music not as just K-pop, but also with like R&B, blues, and soul elements. So maybe I like send you the wrong song to showcase her other sides and vocal
Perhaps.
sides. But that's exactly why you can't really put her in a girl group, because girl groups are strictly pop. You want to like make it appeal to the male fans in most cases, while she is genuinely producing, writing her own music and everything for herself and for her own enjoyment and her passion for music. So it's it's kinda hard to break out of the mold and yet be in it at the same time.
It's the company.
Yeah.
It's the company, man.
It's the capitalism, man.
The capitalism, man.
It's all about the
Don't do
capitalism.
capitalism,
Yeah.
kids.
Last time
It
it
was
was don't do
communism.
Don't do capitalism either.
Yeah, just don't do
Um,
anything.
So yeah, I don't think I have anything else to add. I don't know, maybe honorable mentions.
Perhaps Sunmi, actually.
Sure.
Yeah,
Do that.
she's like also a Korean artist, but she's just like stepping out of that mold in a way that she critiques most of that stuff
Mm-hmm.
in the industry, and she's explosive,
Yes.
very R&B oriented and stuff like that.
Yes, and there's also
Unique.
many other like older K-pop artists that debuted like years ago and then they stopped because, you know, it was either like, I don't know, neglect from the side of the company, or they just didn't really get that popular. For example, Boa, who's like 30 something and she's came back to the stage and she's better than ever. She's also a solo artist that is again on that mature side of K-pop, which we don't get to see that often, sadly. Because it's hard for me to watch 20-something-year-old women act as like 14-year-old girls on the stage.
True.
Yeah.
But it's a bit cringy coming from us, like Westerners. We kind of see.
Westerners.
Well, yeah, like.
Well, compared to
it's-
them.
Yeah,
It's
compared
like
to them, we are.
different beauty standards,
Mhm.
different like appeal, and we see someone who's mature and we think, oh, she's beautiful, and they see someone who's like acting all cute and they
Yeah,
say, oh,
childish.
this is cute, this is beautiful.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a cultural difference.
I
Yeah.
mean, just look at you two. You're like younger than most of them. Some of them, half of them. I don't know the
And
numbers.
now we're kind of older than half of them, with the new generations coming through.
Well, then that's problematic.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
You can't make kids popular.
That's the Korean industry that we're talking about. That's why we need a whole episode.
It's
Ladies
the
and
industry, man.
gentlemen.
So, okay, since you're already kind of, let's say, bonded over this topic, I would like to hear what's your next artist.
Okay, so I've picked out Elizabeth Fraser from Cocteau Twins. I'm not sure if it's Fraser. She's Scottish. She grew up in a little industrial town, much like ours here in Zenica, and at 17 she left her home to not to pursue her career because her parents deemed she looked too punk. She was too like
rebellious
in that kind of environment, and was like, okay, you should go. This isn't for you, which is kind of unusual to hear, but it was like back in the 80s. So she moved, and there she met her a member of her future group, Cocteau Twins, and they formed a band. She never really considered herself a vocalist until then, and what really makes her pop out of the bunch, at least for me, is the music that they make is really ethereal. It's part of the genre ethereal wave, new wave, kind of the way they use reverb, and the way her voice becomes kind of, you just hear sounds. You don't hear actual words being spoken because of her mostly heavy accent, and the way she just doesn't even say words. It's all about that conveyed emotion. It's about those
the atmosphere.
The atmosphere is very, very relevant in that case, and she's a soprano, so very high-pitched vocals in the upper range, and she makes use of that in a way that creates such an atmosphere of ethereal or fairy-like landscape. And I really like the way they experiment with music, and their album Heaven or Las Vegas is really incredible. That was definitely... Last night I listened to that. I
don't think it was my first time, but it's very good.
I'm glad you like it. It's really a part of like that new wave genre that everyone should definitely listen to.
I'm gonna say it. It sounds like The Cure, but with the female singer.
I wouldn't agree. I'm gonna have to disagree.
The song Pictures of You.
Yeah.
Take that, make it 40 minutes, and put her on the vocals, and you get Heaven or Las Vegas. The looping part at the beginning of the song. Yeah. Take that, and you have a Cocteau Twins song.
Well, I mean, have you heard Alice, that song?
I listened to whole albums last night. I don't know the names of the songs, but
Alice was
what
like,
album?
I'm not sure, but it was like featured in a movie. It's called Lovely Bones. Really
That's
sad.
Such a sad movie. The book is sad as well.
But that song just really stuck out.
I have not read that movie or seen the book. So
it's sad, very emotional movie. I wanted to ask, for people that are not that familiar with the whole new wave, how do I call it, style or genre?
What is new wave?
Yeah, or like, do you have any other artists you can compare her to maybe make it a bit more familiar?
It's hard to say what new wave actually is. It's a style that really depends on the artist. If you so for example, we have Talking Heads, they're new wave. They're practically the embodiment of new wave and sound nothing like Cocteau Twins. It's a way of making rock music not sound like rock music, just reinventing the genre. Basically,
we had it here, like EKV.
Definitely, it was big
wave.
here. It was big here, like
for people
Hausswolff
from ex-Yugoslavia, EKV is new wave.
Hausswolff, for example, Idol, really big, big names in like new wave, even in the world.
Are there any like contemporary artists that are similar to them?
Well, now it's become sort of a subgenre. It's not, bands don't usually treat it as we're just new wave, because a part of it is contextual. If you weren't doing music like that in that period, you couldn't be considered new wave. So it was just like different epochs, or how would I say, just those styles are not determined in that moment, but later on, once people continue see the similarities between bands in those times. So I think definitely that a lot of bands are taking inspiration from new wave, and that they're still employing these techniques and just like those reverb, those kind of shoegazy moments as well. So
I mean, the shoegaze did kind of blow up after new wave, in the 90s.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Do
Then
you
it
have
kind of
any-
died.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, shoegaze is like,
I'm not sure what that is though.
it's
Maybe
new
I
wave.
knew-
It's
I would know if you give me like an
it's
artist.
new
or
wave on
something.
steroids. Lush, the band
okay.
Lush. That's shoegaze.
Bloody.
My Bloody Valentine.
Valentine.
Yeah, that's shoegaze. I don't know.
For some reason, those
Bands.
sound a bit like what today we think as bedroom pop. For some reason, I get
Dream
those
pop,
vibes.
dream pop, and
or something.
shoegaze are very.
Actually, like noise rock would be.
Yeah, very
I have
very
no
similar.
idea.
There's a lot.
Oh my
There's a
God.
lot of terms being
Okay,
thrown out.
so shoegaze died, and then we have post rock, which is rock
Okay,
music not
yeah.
sounding like rock music. So it's new wave shoegaze, post rock. There is actually a genre called black gaze,
Okay.
which is shoegaze, but instead
Dark.
of it sounding like dream pop, it tries to sound like black metal.
Okay.
That exists. There's also a lot of post rock in there somewhere. I'm gonna send you some bands.
Okay. Any honorable mentions while
Oh,
we're at your
I would want to connect those soprano moments of Elizabeth with Kate Bush. Kate Bush is pop. Well, she really couldn't be described as anything specific. Yeah, that's what I want to say. So it kind of the term baroque pop is being thrown around. Also experimental, art rock as well. She's just her songwriting is really actually important here as well, and she's sort of a musical chameleon, or vocal chameleon, in the way that she uses different styles and textures of voice and just employs them all and just makes use of all of her techniques. And she has a really wide range, those really high-pitched tiny vocals, but also like very deep ones and very strong ones. So I would definitely recommend her album Hounds of Love. Also, I'm not sure if this song was on it, but the song Wuthering Heights is one that she wrote at, I
For
think,
Wuthering Heights.
yeah, for Bronte.
The song, the movie, the book.
Yeah, it is. It is like that.
She was inspired by the book, and she later said that she felt like she was her. She was the character in the book. She was acting out. She was felt like she was in a play. That's how intense the shows got. And that song spent like many weeks on the UK charts, and she was only 19 when she wrote and sang, produced. Like, she's a triple threat in that matter in the music industry. So I'm not sure if she's still active, but she did make a couple of really great records and really conceptual albums that really made her stand out from the crowd in the pop industry. And I wanted also to mention FK Twigs. She also was greatly inspired by Kate Bush and her way of singing, and her latest record really.
Yeah.
Magdalene.
I always think like, oh yeah, this is it. When she releases a new album, it's like, yeah, like she can't go any weirder or more unique than this. And then she releases a new album and it's even weirder, but it's so amazing at the same time and unique. But I don't think she actually has that big of a following for some reason. I think she's a bit too I'm not even sure how to describe her. Maybe too out there.
Too weird, too experimental.
Yeah, perhaps. It's weird because she makes
It's pop,
high
but
quality
it's not pop.
music.
Yeah.
It's R&B also, like, partially.
Yeah, and I'm always surprised to see such artists kind of perish in a way because they don't have like a following.
Because they're not easy to listen.
Yeah,
I
Could
think
be.
a big factor of is that artists nowadays just pull out records each year. Like every year they have a new single, they have an album, and that's just not the case with some really quality singers, songwriters, or just like perfectionists who take their time, and FKA Twigs is definitely one of them. She took her time to write everything, to bring it to that perfection that she wanted to, and sometimes people get impatient, move on to the next thing, and just forget about it.
Yeah.
And that's
It's usually just quantity over quality, basically. I have read about Kate Bush because she mentioned it, that she's often kind of not mixed, but also usually have a connotation of Kate Bush with your second artist.
My second artist, the Satan herself, our queen and savior, Lingua Ignota, or for all of you out there who don't know Latin, it's unknown language, which is a religious term from 12th century. Anyways, she's a singer,
Yes.
an artist, and she does some experimental stuff. Well, first time I talked to you about how I found her, I think it was some social media something, and there was a picture of the new album before it came out, and it's a picture of her and it says Caligula, and that's the name of the album on her chest. It looked like a tattoo, and I was like, Caligula, well, that's a bad person, I should check this out. And then I found out that she was on Profound Lore Records, which is a record label that I follow, and they do like death metal and black metal and really extreme music, and I was expecting that. Boy, was I surprised. So she's Kate Bush that screams to noise, to put it bluntly.
it's like the next step of Kate Bush.
Yeah.
No, it's a step beyond.
Yeah.
I also saw that they connotate her with, is it what's her name? Susan and the Banshee? Is that the name? Or Susie and the Banshee?
Susie.
Something like that. I don't know.
Susie and the Banshees.
Yeah.
I
I don't
it's
listen
more,
to
it's
them.
more, I'd
so.
say, aesthetically. Because Lingua, her name is Kristen Hayter, I think. That's her actual name. She's really, really, like, her range is good. When she records stuff, like you listen to the album, like the first track, she sings like the same thing in 3 different tones, and then it's all played at the same time, and she sounds like a choir by herself.
Right.
And
Almost
it
like
sounds
an instrument.
no, it sounds like those Gregorian chants. I think that's where a lot of inspiration came from, and she sounds like that, and that's the first track. And you're like, okay, this is weird, nothing special. And then the second track is just like a droning noise, I think it's the second track. And she's singing like softly, so, and then she starts screaming, like actually screaming. And it's very emotional and very captivating in a sense. And she really knows how to show emotion, should I say. And I heard her live shows are fucking amazing. I'd love to go see one someday.
What would you do? I like usually when you go to see like a live show, you can dance, you can, I don't know.
You cry.
Something,
when you go see her, you cry.
you just sit in the audience and cry.
And you feel bad and you cry. And after you cry all your tears out, you feel good. That's the therapy music. And I think that's one of the goals of her music. It's her own therapy, in a way. What do you think? I sent you
like cathartic
experience.
Yes,
I sent you.
I would describe it as such. Like, it was something not like that I haven't ever heard in my life, but something that she made it so herself, made it so in a unique way that you just can't it's like something you can't look away from. It's just
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
you can't stop listening. You're like freaked out. You don't know what's going on.
It's
but
like a car crash. You
It's-
know it's gonna be bad, but you're still looking.
it's still more positive than that, but just like the captivating aspect of it.
I sent you the cover of Jolene.
Yeah.
I think it's the best cover of that song.
Oh, I haven't heard that.
It's more emotional than the actual song itself.
I mean, I can imagine.
Different
With her.
vibe. Different vibe, definitely.
She vibe checked the song.
Okay.
Definitely.
I mean, I cried while listening to it last night. I just felt so connected with her and the music and everything, especially when I started researching her background a bit more. Something I don't know. But I think that's actually the part that you should explain.
The background.
Yeah,
Well,
a bit.
her music. Okay, so her music is basically her story. It comes from her experience from a very, very abusive relationship that she was in. She wasn't even allowed to make music. So, yeah, that's a very problematic subject.
Heavy
And
stuff.
yeah, and the music she makes is a reflection of that. And I think it's something very, very positive in a way, even though it doesn't really sound like positive music, like what would you expect, but in a cathartic way, it really is something very, very positive. And I think everyone should give it a try. I mean, you don't like screaming or noise or like overly harsh music, you still liked it.
Yeah.
I recommend it to everyone. Also, maybe an honorable mention or a few. Should we do that?
I would like to also mention Wise Blood. She's like a singer who did like noise rock, like really heavy stuff, and now she makes basically like some parts were symphonic, like with orchestra. She plays guitar, and her latest album, Titanic Rising, is really, really incredible. She has kind of a deeper voice, but she's like a dramatic kind of vocal. She goes in the upper range, but she still like remains a lower vocal, so like kind of
I'm gonna
similar
listen
to
that.
mine. Like yeah, she's
I'm gonna
really
listen to
great.
that.
She's really great, and I definitely think we should research more female artists, like contemporary female artists.
Well,
As we like kind of established, there's so many out there that are not as popular, and we just need to try it out. Just look out for different stuff.
before people start yelling at me because I'm supposed to do extreme music, Sisters of Suffocation, all-female death metal band, great vocals, great everything. Oathbreaker, chaotic hardcore band, female vocal, great. Not sure if they still make music. It's fucking amazing. Walls of Jericho, hardcore band, a classic hardcore band with a female singer. I think they put an album this year or last year. It was fucking great. Check her out. And
That's it for
that's
now.
it. That's it.
I won't say mine because I can't think at the moment, and my head is filled with too many new artists to
So
think of
many
the ones.
Facts,
Yes.
emotions.
But check out our description because I will leave all the recommendations, all the mentions that we had in this video, and also some that we couldn't have the time to mention for each of us, and you can check them out if you're interested. We've come to the end, and it's time to say goodbye. So hopefully you learn that you just don't listen to the radio, listen to our podcast, and that's where you will get most of your music knowledge from. I hope you enjoyed, and thank you, Ena, once again for being our
Thank you.
guest.
It was lovely.
I'm glad you enjoyed our company, and we will talk to you in our next episode. Bye!